Hi, this is Geoff Berry, and welcome to the Nature Calling channel, where we aim to deepen connection to the earth and to the spirit of life and to all our kin on this beautiful planet. So, what I wanted to talk about today was a sacred word. You know, we've been passed down certain sacred words through tradition, but I've struggled with them, to be honest. And I'm thinking first of all of Amen, or Amen, from the Christian traditions, originally from the Hebrew, passed through the Greek and the Latin into Old English. And in the original Hebrew, meaning truth, certainty, you know, like verily. So it is. This is how reality really is or should be. This is words spoken in truth, higher truth, or a deeper truth, or a more inclusive truth, a bigger picture meaning, a sacred word, said for a Christian in the presence of God. The kind of thing you would only say if you really meant it and felt like even a God, an all-knowing, all-loving, cosmic presence would be in accord with. So, for a Christian, we're going to say Amen in a prayer or a giving thanks moment over our food, for instance. Now, I survived fundamentalist Christianity, a scriptural, almost missionary type tradition that really left me cold very early on. So, on the one hand, I always had a bit of resistance to Christian traditions. On the other hand, I accept that at heart, of course, they're trying to reconnect us to source in the same way that every religious tradition is. Religio, coming from the Latin, to relink, to reconnect to source, to where we come from, to the great power, to the cosmic flow, however we want to see that, or conceive of that, or experience that in ourselves. So it took me some time to come back around to the idea that I could give thanks in my way, in a way that was true to me and to this body, in a post-Christian way. In a way, I guess, also maybe a pre-Christian way, relinking back to a kind of pagan tradition, in the sense of the pagans being the countryside dwellers, the people still in love with nature, who read nature and saw nature as their source, not indivisible from a great cosmic consciousness either, but just loyal to place and to kin, to our kin on this planet, to the other plants and animals and elements. And then another sacred word that sounds quite similar, and perhaps this is because they share a root in the Proto-Indo-European language group, Om, from the Vedic traditions, the Hindu word, doubtless originally in Sanskrit, but again, of course, coming from a timeless sense that we want and need to reconnect to source. And Om, in the same way, a sacred word of reconnection that we find used also in a meditative way. I'm not saying that Amen isn't a meditative moment, but in those Vedic traditions, we find Om almost as a meditative sound, a pre-linguistic word, ironically, that can also work to reconnect. In fact, according to some Vedic traditions, Om is in fact the sound of the universe coming into being. So that connects consciousness, the material physical universe, vibrational frequencies, sound all in one. A really effective way of overcoming separation or even that phrase indicates that there was a separation in the first place, dissolving that whole mythos, that whole idea of separation, returning us back into being at one with that cosmic flow, the universe coming into being and maintaining its being. And then through the New Age practices, we come across another sacred word that again sounds really similar, but this time there's no chance, I don't think, of a linguistic connection in prehistory, and that is aho, the Native American word, which you'll often hear in shamanic practices, which the Native American church used extensively, originally taking it from the Kiowa language around the area now known as Oklahoma, sometimes apparently mistakenly attributed to the Lakota, but nevertheless a Native American term. So, you know, this is a term I can't really use comfortably. I love the Native American traditions. I've always learned as much as I could from them, but it's not my culture. It's not my ancestry. It doesn't really speak to my present status, I guess, as a white Australian, to the extent that that has cultural and political implications. So while I'm seeking a sacred word that will cover all of these possibilities of reconnection, of meditative immersion in oneness, of giving thanks, I need to find something that's true to me, and not something that's culturally appropriated from another culture, because that has a political dimension to it too. We want to give thanks, we want to pay respect, we want to learn from. But I think in this post-cultural era, we want to try our best to not just be appropriating a term from a culture that's already suffered so much from a colonist society, like the one I'm a part of. So in trying to replace these kinds of words with a sacred word that I can be really comfortable with, that will reverberate through my body, mind, heart, soul, and spirit in a way that really does mean something sacred to me, something I would say before the highest truth, something I would be comfortable with in any circumstance, something that shows my appreciation, my gratitude for life. So a word that can be said when I'm giving thanks. Something that connects me to source, to the source of life, to the spirit or the energy of life, to whatever I believe in is a higher or deeper or greater power. Yeah. So your God, Goddess, your Mother Earth, Father Sky, traditions or practices, your nature-loving idea of the sacred. I'm returned to A, what I'm looking for here, and B, the approach I'm coming from, which is utilizing the relatively new traditions of eco-psychology, bringing ecology and psychology together, nature and mind, which of course reveal the same patterns when we look at them closely. Eco-psychology and ecotherapy, putting these ideas into practice for healing, for empowerment, to get us back in flow. I'm reminded that these terms both utilize that short prefix eco, which we know comes from the Greek oikos, home, economy, the maintenance of the home, order, ecology, the logos, the system of the way the home works. Oikos, home. So I want to feel connected with my sacred word to home in nature, to home in the body, for those of us who don't feel completely comfortable with our embodied existence, as well as with the great source, the cosmic flow, the spirit of life. And while I was ruminating on all of this over the years, trying to find a word to replace amen or om or aho, I realized they all sounded something like the word home, what I was really looking for. And so that became my sacred word, and that's a word that I use now when I want to give thanks, when I'm in a prayer type mode, when I'm meditating into deep connection, into identification with self, place, nature, cosmos. Home. I've cleansed myself of my former religious and quite uncomfortable associations. I'm not culturally appropriating. It's an English word. It's a word that means so much and can mean so much to us. In place, in time, in body, in mind, in soul, in spirit, in connection. Home. Please feel free to use this sacred word yourself and see how it feels. Let me know. Maybe it will add something to your practice as well. Thanks for watching, and please consider liking this video. And if you want more content like this, subscribe, and the nature calling bell will toll for you. This is Geoff signing off.